the last part. Okay. So on our last lecture, we have looked at the different types of cells, okay, based on the shape of the cells and the layers of the cell. Okay, uh, this one, so this was our last apa, part of the lecture that we have looked at, the different shapes of cell. The cell can be squamous, can be cuboidal, can be columnar, okay, and the cells can be arranged in single layer or many layers, or single layer that seems to be to have many layers due to the different height of the cells. Okay, so so we have looked at where the cells can be found. The arrangement of the cell tissue can be found. For example, simple squamous. Simple squamous means that the cell shape is flat, and the cells are arranged in a single layer. Kan? So why is it arranged in a single layer? To allow easy diffusion of materials such as diffusion of gases. So as you can see, simple squamous epithelium is the arrangement of tissue that makes up the alveolus, the air sac, the air sac, the alveolus that allows for oxygen to diffuse in, carbon dioxide to diffuse out. So the layer has to be single layer of flattened cells, okay, flattened cells, simple squamous. Then we have simple columnar, single layer of cells that are brick shaped, columnar. These cells involves in secretions, active secretion and also absorption, such as the lining of intestine, secreting digestive juices of the small intestine, and then also the small intestine actively absorbs the nutrient, okay, that has been digested by the enzyme in the small intestine. So the cell has to be columnar, single layer for absorption, columnar for secretion of enzyme, okay, and also absorption. And then we have simple cuboidal, so specialized for secretions, so found in kidney tubules. So kidney tubules here referring to the structure of nephrons, the cells lining the nephrons, okay. So the cell arrangement will be simple cuboidal, simple single layer for absorption and also secretion. And then stratified squamous epithelium, stratified many layers of flattened cells. Multi-layered and regenerate rapidly. So these are layers. These are tissues, epithelium tissues that can be found on surface. Surface, the outer skin lining of mouth. So these surfaces are prone to be exposed to, for example, enzymes, so that the cell at the surface can be easily degenerate or degraded. So they have to be replaced with new ones. So that's why they have to be to be composed of many layers, stratified. Okay. And then pseudostratified, so a single layer that seems to have many layers again. So because why many layers, as you can see from the diagram here, the cells are of varying height. So there's the cells that are shorter, there's the cells that are longer, so it seems that it has many layers, but actually single layer. Okay. So these are specialized specialized epithelial tissues that function to secrete for secretions. Again, so goblet cells is to secrete mucus. So the goblet cells can be found in the cells lining the trachea to produce mucus to trap contaminant from the air that you inhale. And then exocrine gland is to secrete enzymes into ducts, into surface, into ducts, such as, for example, the pancreas. Pancreas secretes digestive enzyme into the first part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum, for example. So exocrine gland function to secrete enzyme into ducts, into saluran lah, So and then we also have sweat glands and salivary glands, right? And then we also have endocrine glands. So endocrine glands is to secrete hormones. So these hormones are secreted either into your interstitial fluid or into your blood circulation, right? Okay, so these are the different specialized epithelial tissue. Okay, so now we are going to look at connective tissues. Okay, so connective tissues mainly binds and support other tissues. Okay, mainly binds and support other tissues. So the it is made up of three main elements. Okay, which is the first one, ground substances, for example fluid, fibers, for example collagen, and also cells, for example blood cells. Okay, so these are the three elements of connective tissues. Okay, so connective tissues, as you can see, okay, so connective tissues, we have loose connective tissues. Okay, so as an example, in the loose connective tissues, there will be the collagen, collagen, and then we also have fibrous connective tissues here, right? Um, and then we have the bone, adipose tissue, cartilage, and also the blood. Okay, so these are the connective tissue. I repeat, loose connective tissues. Okay, here, right? And then fibrous connective tissue, and then bone, cartilage, adipose tissue, and blood. Okay, so types of connective tissues. So the first one, loose connective tissues, it is the most widespread. They are found in the skin and throughout the body. Okay, so in the loose connective tissue, there will be collagenous fibers and also elastic fibers. Okay, so they are found found in the skin. Okay, found in the skin and throughout the body. It is the most widespread. And then the second one is fibrous connective tissue. It is made up of dense collagenous fibers, dense with collagenous fibers, right? So they are found in the tendons and also ligaments. Okay, so tendons, it attaches muscle to bones. Tadi jap. Tendons, muscle to bones. Okay, here. Okay, so here is the tendon, and then from bones to bones. Okay, bones to which connects the bones at joints lah, bones to bone lah. So which is the ligaments. Okay, so ligaments. So these the tendons and also ligaments are made up of fibrous connective tissues. And then we have bones. Okay, so bones are mineralized connective tissues. These are the structure of bones. Okay, so we have here the osteoblast, bone forming cells deposit a matrix of collagen combined with calcium, magnesium, and phosphate ions into a hard mineral within the matrix. Okay, so this is the components, okay, of bones. It has osteoblast and also all these ions, calcium, magnesium, and phosphate ions. And then the fourth one is blood. Okay, so blood is also considered as connective tissues. Okay, connective tissues, blood are also considered as connective tissues. So these are the components of blood. It has red blood cells, white blood cells, and also plasma. And then it is actually the blood is a liquid extracellular. It has plasma. It has plasma. So one of the component of blood is that it has plasma. So what are plasma? Liquid extracellular matrix. Blood, it has two major components. Okay, so one of the component are plasma. The other component is the cellular elements. Okay, so the cellular elements consists of the cells lah kan, the red blood cells, which is the erythrocyte, the white blood cell, which is the leukocyte, and also platelets. Okay. So plasma mostly consists of water and also ions, okay, and also dissolve materials such as gases or hormones. Okay, so those are the component within the plasma of blood. Okay, so blood, when you want to separate the component of blood, you can separate the component of blood into basically two main layers. Kat tengah pun ada juga actually kan. So you have the cellular element at the bottom and the plasma at the top layer after you centrifuge the blood. Okay, so these are the composition of blood. It has plasma and cellular elements. And then we have cartilage. Kan, so cartilage in the picture is here. Kan, so cartilage. Alright. Strong yet flexible support material. Skeletons of embryo contain cartilage replaced by a bone as the embryo matures. Kan? So cartilage dia macam tulang yang dia akan jadi tulang lah kan. So it is initially cartilage, but for example in for the growth of baby, the embryo before it becomes baby. So initially, before becoming the bones in the fetus, so it is initially cartilage, kan? So and then we have the adipose tissue, specialized loose connective tissue that stores fats in adipose tissue, insulates the body and store fuel as fat molecules. Okay, so that is adipose tissue. So for example, after you eat a lot food that may contain high amount of sugar, high amount of sugar, so those sugar will be stored your in your liver cells as a glycogen. But if there's too much sugar, so those sugar will be converted as fat and stored in adipose tissues. Okay, so so that's why one of the function of fat is that it function as energy storage, can energy storage, right? So if you have not if you have but the function of adipose tissue is to insulate the body, can insulate the body. It function as heat insulator. Okay. Okay, so next one is the nervous tissue. Can so the nervous tissue senses stimuli and also transmits signal throughout the animal. Okay, so and then nervous tissue contains neurons or the nerve cells that transmit nerve impulses. And then we have sekejap ya kelas. Hang on a second, sekejap ya. Okay, so the nerve tissue. Okay, so the nerve tissues, we call it as it composed of basically neurons. Can the function of neurons is to transmit electrical impulse, can. And so and then apart from having neurons, it also consists of other cells. We call it as glial cells. So the function of the glial cell is to support the neuron cell. Okay, so support the neuron cell, such as for example help to nourish the neuron cell, help to insulate the neuron cell, and then replenish the neurons. The term insulate here, okay, insulate clear cell. For example, we have one neuron connected to another neuron. The neuron is going to transmit impulse. Okay, in order for the neuron to transmit impulse, the impulse is transmitted along axon. Okay, axon. If you all dah belajar dulu kan, the structure of neuron, it is covered by myelin sheath. Okay, myelin sheath, okay, function as this one is electrical insulator actually, kan. Insulate the axon of a neuron. Yeah, so we call that as, for example, one of the glial cell that function as electrical insulator is Schwann cell. Okay, Schwann cell. Okay, Schwann cell, which is function as electrical insulator, which wraps around the axon of a neuron. So it function as electrical insulator. Apa yang membolehkan neuron ni boleh transmit impulse? Dia disebabkan oleh along the axon, ions will move in and out of the axon neuron. Ions such as sodium ion and also potassium ion. Okay, so this ion will move in and out of the cell and causing the membrane of the cell to change its voltage. To change its voltage. So that creates electrical impulse. So actually, electrical impulse impulse is from the movement of ions going in and out of the neuron. So the function of the glial cell, one of it is to function as electrical insulator. Okay, at certain point within the neurons. Alright. Yang ini detailnya kita akan belajar nanti semester depan. Just you have to know for the nerve tissue, you have the neuron to transmit impulse, and also the glial cell, which is it has these several different functions. Okay. So next one is the muscle tissue. So responsible for many types of body movement, right? So the cells contain actin and myosin, which together enables the muscle to contract. Actin and myosin ni kita tengok hari tu dekat microfilament, the cytoskeleton, right? Okay, so this component allows the muscle to be able to contract and relax. Okay, contract and relax. So there's three types of muscle tissue, which we have the cardiac muscle, which is cardiac muscle can be found in the heart. Okay, so cardiac muscle, one of its ability is that it is able to generate impulse, electrical impulse, causing the muscle to be able to contract and relax. And contraction of heart muscle. This it is due to cardiac cells that can generate electrical impulse. And then we have muscle tissue, smooth muscles. Smooth muscles, where can you find smooth muscle? For example, in your blood vessels. Okay, in your blood vessels, such as the artery or the artery and also the veins. Okay, artery and also veins. So you can also find smooth muscle in the uh, alimentary canal. Kan, your esophagus going down your stomach and then into your intestine, and then the anus. So your digestive system, the all that channels can from the esophagus up until the anus, it is capable of undergoing the process of peristalsis. Yeah, so that is due to having smooth muscle. Smooth muscle, it contracts involuntarily. You cannot control the contraction of smooth muscle. You cannot control vasodilation. You cannot control vasoconstriction, kan, the blood vessels punya contraction you cannot control, so it is involuntary, kan. So you cannot control the process of peristalsis, kan. And then but the one that you can control the contraction is the skeletal muscle, kan. Gerakan you all tu, tangan, kaki semua tu, that is due to skeletal muscle. You can control the contraction of this muscle. Cardiac you cannot control, smooth muscle you cannot control. Okay. So the cardiac muscle. So the cardiac muscle forms the wall of the heart. Okay, the cells of the cardiac muscle are straight. The tissue are straighted. Okay, straighted, and then has similar contractile properties. They have interconnected disc composed of gap junction that connects cell to cell, which release signal between them. Release signal between them is to transmit impulse. Transmit impulse. Impulse is due to the movement of ion, sodium ion and potassium ion in and out of the cell. But for the heart to be able to contract really quickly, so this ion has to be transmitted from one cell to another cell really quickly. So the movement of these ions is through gap junction. Hari tu kita tengok kan gap junction, right? So one cell is connected to another cell through gap junction. So the ion will just easily pass from one cell to another cell through the gap junction connecting between the two cells. Okay. So this allows the cardiac muscle to be able to transmit impulse from cell to cell really, really quickly through the gap junction as the ion moves through the gap junction from one cell to another cell. Kalau transmission of impulse through neurons, kan? So the ion will have to pass through electrical synapse, kan? Electrical synapse, it needs to release neurotransmitter has to bind, and in order for the ion to be transmitted from one neuron to another neuron, it takes a long time. But For the cardiac muscle, it involves electrical synapse, which is due to the presence of gap junction between cells. Okay, that allows signal or impulse to be transmitted easily and quickly. Okay, and then this is to synchronize heart contraction. Okay, so apa nama heart ni adalah satu organ yang mana dia contracts and relax because the heart itself is able to generate its own impulse. Dia tak perlu instruction daripada brain. Kan? So kita punya pergerakan yang lain ni dalam badan kita ni disebabkan oleh kita punya instruction the neuron, the transmission of impulse from neuron, which is interpreted, the information is interpreted in your brain. So awak fikir apa perlukan satu pergerakan, it is from your brain and then it causes you to be able to move. But the heart contraction, the impulse is generated by the heart muscle itself. It doesn't require instruction from the brain. Okay, it doesn't require the transmission of impulse in the brain to the heart muscle. Tak perlu. Sebab apa? The heart muscle itself is capable of generating the impulse itself. Okay, so kalau you dah belajar tu kan kita ada apa, ada SA node or pacemaker. So that is where initially the impulse is generated. Okay, SA node. Okay, sinoatrial node. And then, okay, the second one is smooth muscle. Okay, it doesn't have any striation. And then found in the walls of digestive tract. Tadi saya cakap kan daripada esophagus, down your stomach, into your small intestine, your large intestine, up to your anus. So the movement of the food will be done through the process of peristalsis along that alimentary canal. Again, so this is due to the presence of smooth muscle that contracts and relax involuntarily. Okay, you cannot control the contraction of this smooth muscle. Peristalsis kan? Peristalsis of small intestine, churning of the stomach and constriction of arteries. Vasoconstriction and also vasodilation. Kita pause dulu kelas. Okay, so the next type of muscle is the skeletal muscle. Okay, so skeletal muscle attached to bones by tendons. Okay, and then responsible for voluntary movement. Means that you can control the movement of skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle fibers formed by the infusion of many cells, resulting in multiple nuclei in each muscle fibers. Okay. Arrangement of contractile units, which is we call it as a sarcomere, this one here, and fibers give the cells a stripe, appearance. Okay, straighted stripe appearance. Okay. So this is the skeletal muscle. So, so those are are the different types of tissues in animals. So we have epithelial tissues, we have connective tissues, and then we have also muscle tissues, and then also the nervous tissues. So these are the tissues in animals. In animals, including human lah. Okay. So and then the next one we are going to look at specialized tissue in plants. Okay, so three basic organs in plants are the roots. Okay, the roots, and then the stem of the plants, and then also the leaves of the plants that is function to carry out photosynthesis. Okay, so each organ is composed of three basic tissues. So it means that all these organs or parts of plant, they must have these three basic tissues. Okay, three basic tissues, which is the dermal. The dermal is on the surface, the vascular for transportation, and also ground tissues. So these are the three types of tissues in plants. Okay, daripada roots until shoots, kan, daripada akar sampailah ke hujung daun tu, mesti ada tiga layer tisu ni. Okay, dermal, vascular, and ground. Each tissue form continuous tissue system throughout the plant. Okay. Okay, so the plant tissues, we have the dermal tissue on the surface, so including the stomata, which is found on the dermal tissue, the epidermis lah, the layer on the surface. And then we have ground tissue. There's three types of ground tissue. We have the parenchyma, collenchyma, and the sclerenchyma. And then we have the vascular tissue for transportation of, for example, water and also food. Water in xylem, and then food in the phloem. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the first layer of tissue, which is the dermal tissue. Okay, so it is the plant's outer protective covering. Okay, for protection, protecting the plant from invasion of pathogen, for example. Kan? So outer protective covering, it is first lines of defense because it is outer, like our skin. Our skin, it prevents the entry of pathogen into the organism. Okay, first line defense prevents the entry of pathogen into the organism, into the organism lah. And so first line defense against physical damage and also pathogen. Okay, so and then for non-woody plants, okay, so single tissue called the epidermis, a layer of tightly packed cell. Okay, so we have here the epidermis for the non-woody plants, and then for the woody plants, it is the periderm. Okay, periderm, and then replaces the epidermis in the older region. So woody plants yang berkayu lah kan. So non-woody yang herbaceous lah, for example herbaceous or the young plants. So the tissue layer at the surface, we call it as the epidermis. Once the plant matures, to develop roots, for example, so the epidermis become the periderm. Okay, so this is the periderm. Consists of cork, cambium, okay, and then secondary cortex. And then waxy epidermal coating, which is the cuticle, prevents water loss. Kan? So this is the cuticle, kan? Cuticle. It has the green region here, kan? It has wax. Kan? So this is to prevent water loss. Okay, and then water water and minerals absorbed enter through the epidermis of root hair. So for the root parts of the plant, kan? So the function of the epidermis is for absorption. So this one you have to take note. In the roots, the function of the epidermis, the outer layer of the roots, is to absorb water and also mineral for absorption. Okay. Kalau dekat bahagian atas, contohnya juga seluruh tumbuhan secara generalnya sebagai protection, first line defense. Specifically in the roots is to absorb minerals and also water. So if the epidermis layer, the dermal tissue, is found in the shoots, it has guard cell. Okay, guard cell for gaseous exchange. Kan? So pada bahagian tumbuhan yang ada shoots, kan, daun yang muda-muda tu ataupun daun lah itself, it has guard cell for gas exchange. So these are some functions of the dermal tissue: for absorption, for protection, for prevention of water loss, for gaseous exchange. Okay, and then trichomes, kan, specialized epidermal cells in shoots reduce water loss and reflect excessive lights. So this is trichomes, kan. So dia macam modified shoots lah, kan. So this is to reduce water loss and also reflect excessive lights. Alright. And then we have the next tadi apa, dermal tissue, kan, the first layer, the first type of tissue. Okay, the first type of tissue, the layer. And then we have the vascular tissue. Okay, we have the vascular tissue. Vascular tissue system are embedded in the ground tissue. Kan? So they are found in the ground tissue. Bahagian luar kita ada apa tadi, dermal, kan. Lepas dermal kita ada ground tissue. Dalam ground tissue tu ada vascular tissue. Okay. So the vascular tissue system are embedded in the, sekejap ya. Habiskan ikamat sekejap. Okay. Okay, so the vascular tissue system are embedded in the ground tissue. Nampak? If you look at this diagram, so these are ground tissue. Okay, in the ground tissue, it has the vascular tissue system. The vascular tissue system consists of xylem and also phloem. Okay, so facilitate the transport of materials. Okay, so if it's transport water, it is inside the xylem. If it's transport a food such as glucose, kan, that will accumulate in the fruits, for example, so that is through the phloem, kan. So fungsi daun adalah untuk carry out photosynthesis. Through the process of photosynthesis, for example, that occurs in the leaf of the plant, it produces sugar. So those sugar that produces in the leaf area needs to be stored somewhere or used somewhere. So this sugar that is produced through the process of photosynthesis will be carried along the vascular tissue, the phloem, for example, until it reaches another part of the plant, such as, for example, the fruits, to be stored in the fruits. So buah pun rasa manis contohnya, or travel along the stem until it reaches the roots and stored in the tubers. Jadilah potato, macam tu, kan. So that is for the vascular tissue. Okay. Potato dekat dalam ground, macam mana dia boleh store starch? Sebab dia kumpulkan sugar yang lalu dekat vascular tissue, the phloem, until it is stored in the tubules. Okay. And then it also provide mechanical support. Mechanical support as the overall function, kan, the general function of vascular tissue is that it provides mechanical support. Jadi tumbuhan tu tegak, tegak, tak adalah jatuh-jatuh, kan. So provide mechanical support. Both xylem and phloem are continuous throughout the plant body. Okay. So continuous maksudnya daripada akar, kan, contohnya daripada akar sampai dia naik ke batang, sampai dia pergi ke leaf, kan. So the xylem and also the phloem are continuous, kan. Akar serap air, naik dekat atas dahan, pergi ke leaf untuk sampai ke sel dalam daun tu untuk proses fotosintesis, contohnya. Daripada proses fotosintesis yang berlaku dekat dalam leaf, so the product which is the sugar travel balik dalam phloem, pergi dekat buah, pergi dekat dahan untuk cellular respiration, pergi ke dalam tubers in the under the soil, kan, for storage, macam tu. Okay, so they must be continuous. Okay, continuous. Okay, so two types of vascular tissue. We have the xylem, kan. So xylem, which is to transport water, conduct water and dissolve minerals upwards from roots to shoots. Daripada akar, dia absorb air, absorb minerals, kan. So the water absorbed from the roots travel along the xylem until it reaches the shoots where photosynthesis occur, because the leaf contains chloroplast, that contains chlorophyll for the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so and then two types of conducting cells for the xylem. For the xylem ni, if we look at this diagram, xylem, it has two types of conducting cell. We have the trichaetes, okay, trichaetes here, and also the vessel element. Vessel element is here. Kan, yang trichaetes ni warna hijau ni. And then we have also the vessel elements. Okay, so the trachea main conducting cells of gymnosperm and also ferns. So kalau macam pada tumbuhan yang macam ferns ni, kan, so they have a lot of trichaetes. Occurs in clumps in the xylem throughout the plant body. So which is function to conduct water and also nutrients and also for support. Mechanical support tadi lah. Okay, tak adalah tumbuhan tu lembik macam tu, kan. So mechanical support, for support, to support the plant. And then we have the next one is the vessel element, main conducting cells in angiosperm. Nanti you all google lah gymnosperm ni macam mana, angiosperm ni macam mana pokok dia. Okay, and then function is to conduct conduction of water and also minerals and also support. It is more efficient than trachea in conduction. Okay, more efficient. It is more efficient. So this is the component of xylem. It has trachea and also vessel element. Basically, these two is for conduction of water and nutrients and for support. Macam tu. Okay. So and then we have the phloem. So transport sugars, the product of photosynthesis, and transport other nutrients from where they are made. From where they are made, usually in the leaves lah, kan, because the leaf, it has a lot of chloroplasts, okay, for photosynthesis. And then to other parts of the plant, transport sugars, which is the product of photosynthesis that occurs in the leaf of the plant. So the leaf carry out photosynthesis, the cell in the leaf, mesophyll cell for example, so carry out photosynthesis, produces sugar and then transport throughout the plant through the xylem. Pergilah dekat batang, kalau dia pergi kat batang, the stem for example, the stem may use the sugar produced during photosynthesis for cellular respiration. Remember, plant dia hasilkan makanan dia sendiri, which is the sugar. The sugar can be either stored, okay, stored as starch in the tubers or stored in the fruits of that plant, ataupun gunalah untuk cellular respiration. The plant needs to be alive, kan. They need to live. They need to carry out all the cellular activities within the cell. So in order for the cell to carry out cellular activities, they need energy. So in order for the cell for the plant to be able to survive, they need energy. They need to carry out cellular respiration, which requires sugar as the fuel for cellular respiration to generate energy ATP lah. Kan, so asal ni mesti datang daripada proses photosynthesis. Okay, so the phloem made up of two specialized cells. So ingat tadi kalau macam xylem, two types of cell, phloem also two types of cell lah. So if you look at this diagram here, so one of the cells of the xylem is the sieve tube elements. So if you look at here, so this is the sieve tube element. It doesn't have a nucleus. Okay, it is alive, living cell that is alive, but it doesn't have any nucleus, and other organelles at maturity. So end walls are sieve plates. So these are sieve plates. Maksudnya dia, daripada satu sel sieve tube elements ke another sieve tube elements ni, they are perforated. So they have pores for the transportation of all those sugars. Okay. So the walls as sieve elements are perforated. Ada lubang-lubang kan, perforated. Function to conduct sugar kan, to conduct sugar from one part of the plant to another part of the plant in solutions. Okay. And then we have companion cell. So these are companion cell. They are living. They have nucleus. Okay. Has cytoplasmic connection with sieve tube elements kan. So nampak, this is cytoplasmic connection. Apa dia? Plasmodesmata lah. Dan plasmodesmata. So this allows for the movement of substances across cells. Okay. So function of the companion cell is that because it has organelles that the sieve tube doesn't have, can, so they are capable of carrying out cellular respiration to produce energy in the form of ATP, can, so provide ATP and minerals to maintain the sieve tube elements. Tadi kita tengok sieve tube elements ni at maturity it doesn't have any nucleus. It doesn't have other organelles. So how can it carry out cellular respiration? How can it produce energy? So it is provided by the process of cellular respiration by the companion cell. Maksud companion cell ni dia tolong, it provides energy and other materials to sustain the sieve tube elements. And then assist in moving sugars in and out of the sieve tube elements. Okay. So this is another function, assist in moving sugar in and out of the sieve tube elements. Sebab it is through the plasmodesmata. Okay, so next one is the ground tissue system forms the bulk of the plant. Okay, forms the bulk main. Kan. Bulk of the plant composed of 3 types of tissue. Ground tissue, ada 3 jenis lagi tissue. It depends on the type of the plant or parts of the plant. Okay, so parenchyma, collenchyma, and also sclerenchyma. It depends on the function of that ground tissue. Okay, so this tissue can be differentiated from each other by their cell wall structure. Okay, so from this table, as you can see, it differentiates between parenchyma, collenchyma, and also sclerenchyma. So you can go through this table to look at the difference in the cell shape forms. Can cell wall, as you can see for the parenchyma, it has thin cell wall. Can, and then for the collenchyma, it has uneven thickening on primary cell wall. Sclerenchyma have both a primary and lignified secondary cell wall. All these feature between parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, you have to know the differences. Yang the most important thing that you have to take note is the function of these different types of ground tissue, such as, for example, parenchyma. It functions as food storage. It stores oil droplet, water, salts. It also carry out photosynthesis. Because it has chloroplast, it also functions in secretion, such as it secretes hormones, sugary nectar, for example, resins, kan. So these are the function of the parenchyma. Kalau kita tengok kat gambar ni kan, nampak food storage, such as for example you can see the arrangement of cells of potato kan, food storage, to store food, starch for example. And then for the parenchyma function can provide elastic support kan, tensile strength, mechanical support, flexible structure, and also carry out photosynthesis, such as celery. You all tahu celery tu apa? Celery tu you all tahu? What is celery? Pernah nampak celery tak? Siapa tak tahu celery tu apa? What is celery? Bukan gaji
Macam daun sup.
Macam daun sup kan, orang pergi kat kedai-kedai tom yum kan, ada macam sayur yang hijau bentuk macam tu kan, celery. So that is celery. Okay lah, so asalnya dia bentuk macam ni lah kan. So dari celery, so kalau tengok kat structure celery tu, dia satu batang yang apa, yang tegak macam tu kan. So that is celery, alright. Flexible structure can provides flexible structure because it is green. It is also capable of carrying out photosynthesis. And then parenchyma for protection from stress and strain, and also provide mechanical support, such as for example in this pair, okay, pair, thick secondary cell wall, okay. So that's it. That's the end of chapter 2. Okay. So basically to summarize chapter 2, you have to know the different types of organelles, the structure of organelles, the function of the organelles. You have to know on the cytoskeleton, okay, the different types of cytoskeleton, the arrangement of cytoskeleton, the function of each cytoskeleton, and then animal tissues tadi kita tengok kan, and also plant tissues. So these are the component of chapter 2 that you have to know. After we have finished this chapter, I want you to all to do the same as chapter 1. Try to do a mind map. Cuba buat mind map untuk apa, senang you all nak tahu. Okay, apa yang penting untuk chapter 2 ni. So please use this time if you have ample of time to do mind map so that it is easier for you to remember. Tahu apa poin-poin yang penting. Okay. So far do you have any question regarding today's lecture?